Welcome to Flow. Let's get started. Today we'll start off in a kneeling position. Bring your hands to rest on your knees or your thighs. Allow your eyes to close or find a soft gaze. Take these first few moments just to come into your body and come into the movement of your breath. With every inhale, feel this expansion in your rib cage and in your belly. And as you exhale, imagine your spine could grow a little bit longer, like the tops of your ears are being pulled up towards the ceiling. Keep this intentional breath flowing. We'll start off today in a tabletop position. So on your own time, make your way there with your shoulders over your wrists. We're gonna move into an isolated shoulder roll in this tabletop position. So the spine's gonna move a little bit with this, but more than anything, I want you to think of moving the heads of your shoulders up towards your ears, up towards the ceiling, and then back down to the mat. And take 3 or 4 of these in one direction, and then go ahead and move in the opposite direction. And again, the spine is going to reciprocate and move just slightly, but more than anything, I want you to feel this movement through your shoulders. After your last one, bring yourself up to standing on your knees. We're gonna do just a bit of mobility work here. Reach your arms so they're straight up overhead. Your palms face each other. And then bring your hands so they come behind your head so your elbows are nice and wide. Now, once again, reach your arms up. Rotate your palms first away from each other and then continue to rotate them so the backs of your hands will come to your lower back. Your elbows are nice and wide. And then think of shooting your hands down, out and up. You again feel this rotation in your shoulder and the hands come behind your head. We're gonna repeat this movement about 5 to 6 times. And as we're going through this, I want you to think of moving very intentionally. Notice how your shoulder, that rotation through your arm affects your shoulder. You might be feeling a little bit of a stretch into your chest. You may be feeling a bit of a stretch into the shoulder. And see if you can challenge yourself when your hands come behind your head to allow your elbows to come as wide as possible. And then when your arms come behind your back, that same idea of the elbows now pulling slightly forward. And think of drawing a huge circle, like you're in a big tunnel or a big tube, and you're trying to hit all of the sides of that tunnel with your fingertips. And you may start to feel a little fatigue through your shoulders. We're not gonna be here for super long. This is a really good mobility exercise, just finding this intentional movement. In performance, it's so easy just to kind of fling our limbs around. So anytime we can find intentional movement's really helpful. After your last one, interlace your fingers at the base of your spine, punch your fist down, take a little moment to bring your gaze up towards the ceiling, just to open through the heart. And then release, bring your hips to your heels, bring your hands so they come to heart center, interlace your fingers, push your palms forward, pull your chin to your chest. And then keep your shoulders lifted as you bring your arms up all the way back. We're gonna repeat that, hands to heart center, push the palms forward, feel this deep contraction. Keep the hands together for a moment as you lift up, and then separate the hands and open through your arms. Let the arms come back behind you. We'll take a few more just like this. Hands to heart center, push the palms forward, feel this nice deep contraction. Bring your body all the way up, spine is tall, open through your arms, open through your chest. Almost feeling this kind of undulating movement through the spine, but also allowing this mobility range of motion into your shoulder girdle, and then also finding some nice opening into the chest. Maybe even some stretch into the arms, the biceps. Your breath doesn't have to exactly match your movement, just make sure that you keep that continuous intentional breath going. And after your last one, we're gonna come back to our tabletop position, familiar position here. We're gonna take a few more of those shoulder rolls and just notice if anything's kind of shifted now that we've been moving around a little bit. Maybe you're feeling a little bit different through the shoulder girdle, a little warmer. We'll take about 3 circles in one direction and then about 3 circles in the opposite direction. And let these just be nice, big, and juicy. Try to find as full of a range of motion, that circular range of motion, as you can. And then move back to tabletop. From here, we're coming into kind of a funky position. It's kind of like a child's pose. Your elbows will come down to the ground. Your hips will be high up into the air. You can bring your palms together and try to bring your thumbs to the nape of your neck. Now this can feel pretty intense. If it's feeling too intense, bring your elbows a little closer to your knees. If you'd like to feel a little more opening into the tricep or into your armpit, walk your elbows so they come away from your knees. And then allow just a little bit of an arch in your spine here so your belly can kind of fall towards your thighs. And again, it's not a super natural pose, so maybe feeling a little bit uncomfortable. Just try to breathe into that discomfort. We know this won't be forever. We're finding some nice stretch, some nice mobility into these important joints that we want to work forever. So this mobility work is super important. Start to push yourself out of this posture. We're gonna come down into the belly into another kind of awkward position. So before you go down, thread your right arm underneath your left arm. So it's kind of like you're tied up here. And then bring yourself down onto your belly as best as you can. So you'll notice my head is kind of floating a little bit. This can be a pretty deep shoulder stretch, kind of like that outer arm area. Allow the weight to happen. And if it's too much, back off just a little bit. Bring your body up just as much as you can, or uncross your arms just a little. But breathe into this space. Think of the space between your shoulder blades. That's another area that we're finding a little bit of opening, but then also that area right, the kind of side of your shoulder there. Take nice big breaths. I know it feels a little strange. With your belly down, it's a little difficult to breathe into your belly, but try as best you can. Slowly bring yourself out of this and then just swap sides. So I just took my right arm and put it right over my left arm. And then maybe you find that you can crawl your fingertips, meaning your left fingertips and your right fingertips, away from each other. And then just notice any differences you may feel here. Maybe one shoulder, one arm is feeling a lot tighter than the other. Just something to be aware of in your own body, where your asymmetries are. Just so you know, when you go into an audition or go into a show, or when you go to the gym, you know what you need to strengthen, you know what you need to mobilize and stretch. Take a few more big breaths here. Again, think of that expansion into your low ribs. And then slowly release. Bring your hands down to the mat and push yourself up to a downward facing dog. Energize your heels down to the ground, spread your fingers wide, and think of pushing your armpits towards your big toes. So allow this to be a little more for the shoulders than for the legs. You'll probably feel a nice little stretch into the backs of your legs as well. And take big breaths between your shoulder blades and start to walk your feet up towards your hands. You're coming into a ragdoll forward fold. Soften through your knees, drop your head. It's easy to want to hold on to a lock of the knee joint here. Really try to soften down. Take some movement in your head and your neck. Notice if you're holding on to something there. And we'll just be here for a few more breaths just to allow a little bit of decompression through the spine. And then soften through your knees once again and slowly roll your body up. Think of stacking through your vertebrae, your shoulders, your chin, your gaze are last to arrive. Bring your arms up overhead and grab your elbows. Think of pulling your elbows away from each other and start to take these little circles going around to the right. You can soften through your knees. I call these little shoulder churns. Think of a nice deep contraction into your upper body. And this can move a little more through the spine, even through the pelvis if that's feeling nice. We'll take like 3 or 4 circles in one direction. And then go ahead and move this in the opposite direction. As you're doing it, try to keep your armpits as open as possible. You're gonna have that moment of contraction, but then really allow yourself to lean back. And we'll take a few more of these, just going up and around. Bring yourself back to center, release through your arms, and take a moment just to kind of swing your arms around. We're gonna be doing a stretch over on the wall. So find a wall that you're near, bring your hands up against it, and then step your feet slightly back. So try to splay through your palms, spread through your fingers, almost think of pushing into your hands. And if you need to decrease your stretch, bring your feet a little closer towards the baseboard. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper, walk your feet further away. Think of your armpits shining towards the wall. And then just breathe here. Slowly bring yourself out of this, one arm at a time. Keep your left hand to the wall. You can get a little bit closer, and then rotate yourself over to the right. And maybe try to experiment with walking your left fingertips up a little higher. See how that might change the stretch, and then a little bit lower. Really think of rotating your right shoulder over to the right as much as you can to get a deeper opening, a deeper twist into your left shoulder. We'll slowly start to come out of this side and move into the opposite side. So extend your right arm, rotate your body. I like to bring one foot in front of the other just to facilitate the twist a little bit more. Try to walk your right fingertips as far away from your body as you can. Allow your breath to be really big here. Allow your breath to facilitate the stretch, facilitate the opening. Maybe even trying to crawl the right fingertips a little further away from your body. Just see where that gets you. Take one more breath and then slowly bring yourself out of this and move away from the wall. Come back to your mat. Reach your arms up overhead and take a full arm circle up, back, and around. We'll take a few more like that. Big arm circle. So this nice big range of motion into your shoulder. And then we'll take a few going forward, going back, up, and around with the arms, with the hands. You can find this nice soft bend with your knees and even a little bit of movement through your spine. And now take a few moments to let your arms and your shoulders and your head just kind of flop around before we come into a still standing position. Maybe allow your eyes to close or find a soft gaze and take these final few moments to reconnect with your breath, to come back into your body. Take one big breath in and a full big breath out. Thanks for joining us today. And that's your flow.